Well, welcome back to the Piney Woods Homestead, y'all. Wanted to show a few clips of the creek and some drainage running into the creek, y'all. We had a major flood yesterday. I believe it was close to probably 2.5 to 3 inches of rain. And we have had some major flooding issues here on the Piney Woods Homestead. But y'all, that's part of it, I suppose. I don't remember it ever being this wet so often in the winter here and so mild. But y'all, I'm gonna take you around and show you a couple of things we've had to do to kind of mitigate all of this rain that we've been getting. And then we're going to go up to that farrowing barn. I'm gonna take some measurements. We're gonna build a new gate so that I can have basically a guillotine door that goes up and down to shut pigs in and out when we need to. And we're gonna check on Sampson and Dixie and see how they're doing. Guys, thanks for stopping in at the Piney Woods. Hit that like and subscribe if you hadn't. As always, we appreciate you. Let's get to it. Y'all don't know how good the lighting is and if you can see, but this is the large wooded area that Rosie's in right now, and as well as the newest gilt, Buttercup, and the last topping hog that we're going to be processing here in about another week. We're waiting on some colder weather and hopefully a little bit of dry. This is just inundated with rain is really getting on my nerves, but what do, you know? But anyways, out here in the woods, they've got nice dry footing. Sampson, on the other hand, Dixie has pretty much ruined his lot. So we had to come in last night and do some quick temporary expansion on his lot so they'd have some dry ground. I'll show you that in here in just a minute, but let's get up to the farrowing barn and take a few measurements real quick. So y'all, what I'm doing is getting me the width here. This old gate that we had built, you know, it worked, but what you really need inside of a hut like this where you want to build to sort pigs is a gate that you can raise and lower. That way when they come in, you can just shut it from the outside. You don't have to be in here, and you can lock those pigs in where you want them so that you can handle them, so that you can pick them up, weigh them, whatever you need to do. So I need 38 inches wide on this, and basically it's going to be, it'll be a half gate, because I'll put some runners along the side, kind of like I did, actually exactly like I did for that barrier out there, if you remember me putting that up on the outside of this little barn. And I'll put a pulley up here on top, and it'll just ride in a track so I can raise and lower it with a rope from outside. So y'all, when we put Dixie down here for Sampson to hopefully breed her, we had a nice dry lot, or Sampson had a nice dry lot. But Dixie, it's like as soon as she got in here, she started digging holes as deep as she could dig them. And she rarely does that when she's in her normal lot out there with Rosie. I don't know if it's just something about being in close proximity to a boar, being bored, I don't know what it is. But so every time we get a hard rain, it just fill in with water. And we knew that eventually that whole lot of his, if we got enough rain, was just going to become a muck. But the whole saving grace to the whole deal was that Sampson, being the tidy pig that he is, because y'all, he kept his lot just tidy and clean, wasn't rooting except along the edges, along the fence line. Underneath his shelter, he had a nice dry bed all the time. But Dixie, I always want to say Rosie, but Dixie got a wild hair the other day, and she bulldozed out underneath that shelter to the point where when that almost 3 inches of rain fell yesterday, a nice swimming pool developed. So we came down here yesterday. At the end of the day, it's still raining. Wasn't pouring down rain, thank goodness. And we took some of Lisa's tomato trellis, that cattle panel over there, and we temporarily expanded here behind his hut and tied into this other fence, run some temporary electric on the inside. And I told her, I said, by morning they'll have it rooted up, and they do, but they're not digging holes over here. We're not feeding them over here. We're still feeding them in pans, even though it's sloppy wet over there. We've got just enough area to continue to feed them over there. So over here, hopefully they'll just disturb the soil. And y'all, I'm sorry the sun's in your eyes. I can't help that all the time, but in the camera there. But hopefully they'll keep this area just clean, and it'll give him some sure footing, because looking at Dixie this morning, it looks like he has tried to get an owner. And it's about time for her to show signs of heat if she's going to be in heat. We're hoping that he's got her bred, but y'all, I am just not 100% certain here. Either way, in about 3 days, Dixie is going back in there with Rosie, and we're going to bring Buttercup down here. And that way, we will know if Buttercup does not get bred that we have a boar issue and not a sow issue. We're hoping that it's just the simple fact that the footing has been so bad out here. But like I said, if Dixie was going to show signs of heat, she'd be showing it right now. But you can tell his slobber's on her back, and that could be the simple fact that Buttercup over here is in heat. And that's why we got electric in between. Even though there's woven wire, if Sampson really wanted to, he could probably defeat every bit of that and get over there with her. So we're trying to prevent that, because we want to let him breed her, but we want to wait a few more weeks until she comes in the heat again. And I think it'll be her third or fourth, or about her third cycle. And so she'll be old enough to get bred. So hopefully this all's gonna work out, y'all. It'll work out one way or another, even if we have to AI again, which we're trying to prevent doing. That's the whole purpose for having Sampson. Let's get up to the metal building. Let's knock a panel together and see if we can get a sliding gate installed, y'all. Y'all, I thought I'd spare y'all the noise of sawing inside of this metal building. But y'all, all I've done is taken some 1-inch boards that I actually had stacked, letting them dry a little bit. I was going to plan on using them for floorboards in the cabin, but got plenty of pines out here I can mill. And they're actually molding some, because even though I got them stickered in here, it's just been such a wet winter and so humid, it doesn't matter. You're going to get a little mold. You always going to sand over that anyhow. But y'all, just a simple panel that I'm putting together here. And these little pieces that'll hold it together, they'll be on the outside so that the pig can't get their nose up under it and lift the panel. And you'll see what I'm doing a little bit better once we get down there with the panel. I'm actually going to have a board that's stationary at the bottom that acts as basically about a 6-inch lip off the ground. And the reason for that is so that baby piglets will have a barrier that'll keep them inside of this farrowing barn for the first few days. They won't venture out. They'll stay in there, but Mama Pig can come and go as she pleases with the gate up. So let me screw this together, and we'll get down there and see if we can install it. Y'all, I got that panel built, and then realized that right behind me is a nice sheet of plywood. But that's all right, I can use that for something else. But anyhow, I got everything loaded up, and I don't know if you've ever had a moment like this, but I was like, where am I at? What am I doing? I totally lost space of what I was doing and what I was supposed to do next. It reminds me, I had this I had this math teacher in high school in the 10th grade. And he taught algebra 2. That's what he was teaching me. And y'all, I was failing that class. It was terrible. And I was trying my best, but just couldn't grasp it. And I actually had to take an extra class every day with this teacher. I had a PE class. It was baseball, because I played baseball, and I had a class that was baseball. So that was a lot of fun, but I had to miss that class because the coach made me go to a second period of Algebra 2 every day to try to get my grade up to passing so I could play ball. Fortunately, I was making good enough grades and everything else that it kind of washed out, but I failed that class. Wasn't the teacher's fault, but I could remember saying, Mr. Southern, that was his name. The man could have been building space shuttles. He was that smart. I'd say, where are we at? He'd say, you're sitting in whatever seat, whatever row, Randolph County, North Carolina, United States, North American continent. He'd go all the way out to the universe, and I'd be like, I'm just wanting to know where we're at in the math problem. But that's kind of how I felt a while ago. Where am I at? But I'm going to get all this took apart, and then we'll get to installing the new guillotine type gate. I'm just getting my runners in here, so I got something to slide the actual gate through. I'll make it work. It's not quite lined up the way I want it, but I'll make it work one way or another. That's what we tend to do around here. Alright, y'all, here's your look at this door. It'll slide up and down in a track with a kicker board down here at the bottom, so that, you know, day old piglets aren't going to cross that barrier, but the sow, she'll be able to come in and out. Still got a little bit to do here, and I'll show you the finished product here in just a minute. Alright, so I got me a pulley. You can't see it for this, but I've got a pulley on the back side, and I've got some rope that I've been hanging on to for several years. Whenever I find it on sale, I think I gave like $3 for it, I'll buy a couple of them, because working with these hogs and other stuff, y'all, on a homestead, you always need some good rope. Not that this is the best by any means, but it gets the job done. So I'm glad that I had this squirreled away, because I need it now. Basically, I've got a hole drilled in this panel. It's going to run through this pulley and go to the outside of the farrowing barn. So y'all, that's the gist of it. Just a simple guillotine type door with a stationary board down at the bottom that piglets aren't going to be able to cross. And y'all, they'll stay in here. Those piglets will stay in here for a few weeks before they start venturing outside. And that board will do that. and we can always take that bottom board out. It's actually fixed. I got a couple of screws in there. They can come out if need be and get that board totally out. That way we can just keep this guillotine door tied up so that it's just tall enough for piglets to come in and out, so we can creep feed them inside of here and not let the mama sow come in here once the babies, you know, are old enough. But that's the gist of it, y'all, and that makes it easy when it comes time to sorting piglets, catching them to castrate, catching them to sell, and even bringing them in, because, you know, we use this as a central hub for dispatching our hogs when they're topped out. And we don't always wait for a topped out pig. Sometimes we process when they're 50 pounds. Just depends on if we have sold pigs or not, and if we want to process one that size. But y'all, let's go down here and check on Sampson one more time before we wrap things up. Y'all, if Dixie was going to be in heat, she'd be in heat right now. And I'm not certain that she is. Even though he's giving her some attention, she'll walk off and go into the main portion of his lot. He sticks around out here with Buttercup, making his old jaw do that whole, it's like a lockjaw thing. You can tell that she's in heat. I can very well see that she's in heat because she's showing signs of it. But Dixie, on the other hand, it's hard to tell. So I'm hoping that she's pregnant. I'll leave her in here for about 3 more days, just in case her heat cycle is kicking in. She's going to come out, and Buttercup's coming down here with Sampson. Guys, thanks for stopping in at the Piney Woods. We'll see you on the next video. You'll have a good day and a great week.